Hey guys, hello and welcome back to we got a brand new guest here on the 90th minute. We've got the legendary Conradinho, Jimmy Conrad. Jimmy, how's it going?
It's going great now that I'm talking to you guys.
Thank you for being on here. Yeah, you've been like our top 5 guests to get on the podcast, so it's a great start. You're up there with like Alphonso Davies, maybe one day. So first of all, Jimmy, I guess to start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the short response because I'm a long talker. I would say the way that I always say it is that I'm your favorite former U.S. men's national team player, Jimmy Conrad. I played in the league for 12 years, MLS that is. I played for the U.S. men's national team in the Copa America and the World Cup. Played against some really good players, maybe Messi, you've heard of before, R9 Ronaldo, Zidane, Beckham, Roberto Carlos, all those guys. Big thrill to have had that type of career, but just as excited to do what I'm doing now and getting to be a fan ultimately and getting to kind of spread the good vibes that come with the beautiful game around the world and get to talk to you guys like this, right? This
Perfect.
Opportunity is super cool too. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Obviously there's a lot of stuff in between, but that's the overall.
Also great hair.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. That's why I came on. Now, my quarantine hair is a little needs some help, but I'll take that. I'll take that compliment. Thank you.
So many people dream of playing in a World Cup, and you've done that. And so, how does it feel like just walking onto the pitch in your first ever World Cup match?
I was pretty nervous. The game that I got to play first was Italy, and I came on as a sub, so I didn't really have too much time to be nervous. I was just went from 0 to 1,000. You don't need to warm up. You're so ready to go, and I didn't want to make any mistakes. Obviously, you got a gajillion people watching at home. You're playing against the eventual World Cup champions and against some of my heroes, Andrea Pirlo in particular, and so that was a big thrill for me. But the next time when I played, I knew I was going to start against Ghana 5 days later. I was really nervous. I had some of my worst trainings for the national team. The coaches came up to me and asked me if I was okay. I mean, that's how visibly poor I was playing. But they stuck with me. I knew that once the whistle blew, I'd be ready to go. And I thought I held my own at the highest stage. And that's something I'll always be very proud of.
No, definitely. I mean, I think everyone dreams of playing at that stage. I mean, I know definitely we did when we were kids, but now we're talking about a beautiful game. I guess my first question for you is more so directly related to what's happening in the game right now. I guess we should talk about North American football to start off with. What are your thoughts on the MLS coming back right now? The MLS is back tournament, and who do you see kind of going far in the tournament?
Well, I think they should come up with maybe a little bit more of a creative name or not give it a name at all. It's a funny name to call a tournament. I'm excited that it's back. I know that the circumstances aren't what everybody wants, but sports are an escape for a lot of people from real life. So it's important to have that balance. And so from that standpoint, I'm excited. Mm-hmm. I wish, we were back in stadiums and maybe trying to mimic what the Bundesliga and La Liga are doing to a certain extent, where you're still playing at your home stadium. You're still somewhat in your friendly confines, though we've learned from the Bundesliga that it's not much of a home field advantage. So most of the away teams are actually getting big wins. But I don't know. I'm curious. I'm curious to see what it looks like. The NWSL is starting up too. I know the NBA and I'm sure baseball won't be too far behind. Mm-hmm. And we'll see how it all plays out. I mean, our country's a little bit bigger, so it's harder to get everybody on the same page in terms of, and every state has different laws in terms of what they're doing to fight the pandemic. And that makes it a little bit more complicated than, say, a Germany or Spain who can get everybody on one page together.
Who do you have as favorites in this tournament then, since it's a different style of tournament?
Sure. God, that's a good question. I mean, I think I saw the Colorado Rapids going off at 40-1 to win this tournament.
Wow.
I mean, you might as well put money on everybody. Like because who knows? Who the hell knows how they're going to come out and play? I mean, I think it's that much of a crapshoot. So it's really hard to say exactly who's going to win. But, I mean, it's hard to get away from the Atlantas and LAFCs and Seattles and Torontos who have that core of players. They know how to win games. They've got good leadership. The teams that have good leadership ultimately can hold each other accountable on the field, and I think that makes a big difference.
Another question. Any opinions on the state of Canadian football? Well, we're Canadians, so we kind of want to know your thoughts on it right now. And also, do you see CONCACAF teams becoming more competitive?
So the first part is an easy joke. You know, I'm happy for you guys to have qualified for the 2026 World Cup already. That must be a big deal for you. That's one. Second, I think you have arguably one of the best young players in the world, who's Canadian, and Alphonso Davies. So I'm excited about that. I think his success is really important because a lot of young kids in Canada will now look up to him and look to him as somebody that, if he can do it, I can do it. And that is really important for young players to see. So that'll be really important. As for CONCACAF teams getting better, 100%. I think MLS has already proven that they're making the smaller nations a little bit better, hence why we didn't qualify, amongst many reasons, for the 2018 World Cup. There's a lot to break down there for sure. But yeah, I think it's better. If everybody's better around us, it's just going to force our national teams to get better. And yeah, I've got no problem with it. I think CONCACAF is tough. I've been through World Cup qualifying before. There are no easy games. Even when you go down to Trinidad, if you go down to Guatemala, you know, the teams that maybe shouldn't beat you, but they give you a hard time. Those aren't easy games to play in. And I know that Europe can say they have the same, and you know they have to go to Lithuania or San Marino or wherever the hell they're going, Liechtenstein or whatever. I'm like, we beat those teams 12-0. It's not the same, you know. So yeah, our region is interesting, and Canada can attest to it as well. It's not easy to get through the group, you know, and to get into the hex and to have success. So, you know, I'm excited though. I think Canadian soccer, Canadian football is on the up and up. You know, I'm happy that you guys have your own league and you're doing your own thing and not necessarily relying on the States to help you out, because they probably weren't looking out for you guys and maybe the way that you thought you should. And it'll be interesting to see how that blends together as the sport evolves. Maybe after the 2026 World Cup, there'll be a healthy and vibrant second division. So there'll be promotion, relegation, and then everybody can start working together. But we'll see, because money usually drives those decisions.
No, definitely.
I wanted to move on. I mean, mention something from your Draw Your Life video, which is probably one of the best videos on the YouTube platform in general. A very motivating story. You talk about going to the field every day after hearing from a former men's U.S. national team's father. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you went to the field every day and kept getting better and better and ended up becoming a professional. For people watching who want to maybe become a football player or start something in general, how do you get started and how do you keep on going without giving up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm actually living it in some ways now, right? Because I start a YouTube channel or I start a Twitch channel. Like, for instance, I'm doing a new live show on Twitch. Well, people don't go to Twitch to watch a variety show. They don't go on Twitch to necessarily look at a talk show. They go on Twitch to watch other people play video games, you know? So that's its own challenge. But because I've lived through it before, because I've fought these battles before, and I know that there is success if you stick with it, that doesn't, so I don't get deterred. All I do is try to learn from the mistakes, try to understand what the audience wants, and then continue to build. Now, I will say there's an element of it, and I talk to my team that's helping me. As long as we're having fun, that is by far the most important thing. If we're not enjoying the process, then there's going to be no pull to want to continue to learn and get better. So if you're making a decision to become a professional soccer player in particular, and that wasn't really my dream, because there wasn't MLS when I was a kid. There was no, and you couldn't see games, the Premier League from across the pond. You could, the TV wasn't as sophisticated as it is now, and there was no internet. That's how old I am, guys. And so it was really just a matter of whether I could do it. And I wanted to be a more vital member of my team. I wanted the coach to count on me, right? So it really started with these little baby steps. And I can't tell you how good of a feeling it is when you achieve that, because you're starting to make good decisions on the ball. You're starting to make plays. I coach a team now in the 4th division here in this country. And I love a lot of the guys on my team, but ultimately I didn't have enough guys last season that knew how to make plays, like to make plays. But where that all starts, where you get the confidence to step up and make plays, is by doing the little things when no one's watching. So you have to go to the park. You have to go to a school, find a wall. You have to work on your game. You have to, I think the biggest thing for me, Lucas, in particular, was when I first went out, once I learned and got this information that, and the big crux of your messaging and what I said in the Draw My Life, and I thank you for the kind words, was that once the coach said, hey, my son who played in the World Cup, all he did was go work on his game every day for 2 hours. That was a big light bulb for me, because then I knew at that moment that it was up to me to decide how good I was going to be at anything. It wasn't up to anybody else. So yeah, you could have a ton of experience, and even me, I could look at you guys and watch you play and be like, you're not good enough right now or whatever. But that doesn't mean you can't be good enough in the future. You know what I mean? Because it's up to you to decide. So the biggest and hardest thing for me, and what I'm most proud about in some ways, was that when I first went out there, I didn't know what to do. Like, okay, I'm supposed to be out here for 2 hours. What am I supposed to work on? I didn't have any games to play, no foot games, no coaches. I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, okay, I know my left foot kind of sucks. I mean, I think it's okay, but it kind of sucks. I don't know. So I started juggling with my left foot, and it was actually worse than I could have ever imagined. It was bad. And I was embarrassed. When you get embarrassed, but usually you get embarrassment because people are around. There was nobody around, and I was embarrassed. That's how bad my left foot was. So I went home after 10 minutes because I was like, it's easier to play video games than it is to like try to get better. But where I'm proud of myself is I pushed myself to go out again the next day. I still didn't know what I was doing. I was still pretty ashamed, but I'm like, the only way I'm going to get better is if I have to keep doing this, I think. So I kept doing it, and then I slowly got better. At practice, I could feel myself getting better. I was a lot more calm on the ball. I was a lot more assured, and that confidence was so key. And once you get that, it's the juice, boys. It is the drug. And you start to go, that 10 minutes is like, whoa, wow, if I practice for 20 minutes, would I be even better? If I practice for an hour, imagine that. And then you just start to add all these layers to your game. And like, wow, maybe if I started lifting weights, I'd be stronger. If I started running and learning that, I could be faster. And once you start to add all those components, you start to take big steps and leaps over everybody. And it's crazy. And so that was always my talent was like commitment. My talent was dealing with perseverance, dealing with adversity. And so everybody asked me, hey, what's the shortcut? How did you become a World Cup player? And the secret is there is no shortcuts. That's it. And that can go from school, that can go for music, acting, making YouTube videos, whatever it is. You can't, there are no shortcuts. But nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants the secret sauce. But that is the secret sauce.
No, yeah, definitely. I could definitely agree with that, especially when it comes to content creation. Like people on my Twitch stream, they'll come to me and they'll ask, how do you get viewers? How do you do this? Like, you got to start somewhere. You got to stay consistent. It doesn't happen overnight. So
yeah.
You can apply that for anything in life.
Agreed.
I guess my question now is, once again, back to the U.S. What do you think that the U.S. need to do to go back and not just qualify at the World Cup, but also just compete and progress?
Man, how much time do you have? This is a long one.
Give us a short answer.
Yeah, I'm not a short answer guy, but I'll do my best. I would say that we have more than enough players that want to play the game in this country. No question. We need to develop better coaching, and we need to develop a system that rewards coaches for developing players. So, for instance, I'll give you an example, not too far from where you guys, in Seattle, DeAndre Yedlin, okay? So this drives me absolutely insane. It still pisses me off. I will never stop yelling about it until it changes. DeAndre Yedlin gets developed by the Starfire Academy, okay? He then joins the Sounders Academy. Sounders plays for them, goes to a World Cup, gets sold to Tottenham. Now, FIFA puts a thing in place to protect these youth clubs from being exploited, right? Where they develop these players and the players get, dangled with some money, and then those youth clubs don't get anything in compensation, don't get compensated. So they're supposed to get 5%, Starfire. He sells for like $2 or $3 million to Tottenham. So they should get like, I don't know, 150, 200 grand. It's not that much, all things considered, right? But it's the precedent. So MLS and US Soccer both say, we're not going to give you the solidarity payment. We're not going to give you that 5%. So when you set that message from the very top, that's how you're going to handle youth clubs, why would any youth club ever give a player to an MLS academy? Why? There's no incentive. So we have to figure out a way to reward those coaches that are actually doing the good work and passing their players on, that they're going to be compensated for that hard work. Because right now they don't get shit, and it sucks. It sucks. So that needs to change. It has to change. And when and that has to change for a lot of reasons, but the biggest reason is so that we're all rowing the boat in the same direction. When you have the youth guys doing one thing and then the guys at the top doing something different, we're not going to get our best players. It's just not going to happen. And then all of a sudden you have all these players that fall through the cracks, and there's these politics, and then players and parents get frustrated, and they're like, well, screw it, we're going to go play another sport or whatever it is. So it starts there. Then you have coaching that has to be developed. You have to have scouting that's developed. There has to be trust between the levels, and there has to be good, clear communication. And that starts with U.S. Soccer, whether they want that responsibility or not. It starts with them as our governing body. So anyway, I'll rant over, but that's what I'll say about it.
No, that's fantastic. No, and also like you can say like how expensive it is to play the sport in the U.S. compared to other countries. Yeah, that's a thing. So, Yeah, Lucas.
Well, let's bring Jimmy's mood back up because
Listen, I can hit the switch. You tell me when to hit the switch.
Okay, well,
Fantastic.
well, you brought up before we started the picture of you tackling Messi. And I'd also like to hear you talk about the story about Riquelme. And
Yeah.
So that's one I really enjoy, and I think a lot of people would enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So we played against Argentina in the Copa America. We go down to Venezuela, and it's intense there, especially for Americans, because that relationship between the two countries is, let's say, not on the best. I don't know. They don't have the best relationship. And Hugo Chavez, who's a dictator that wasn't really well liked, was still in charge, and blah 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 blah. So we go down and do this thing, and it's an intense tournament, intense experience. We play Argentina first. I wish we would have played them last in the group, so we kind of eased into playing some of the best players in the world. But we get them first. And for the first 20 minutes of the game, Riquelme doesn't tie his shoes. I'm like, what? Like, have some goddamn respect. I don't care if you think the U.S. is whatever. It's the Copa America. You know, it's like, it's the Euros of South America. Like, tie your shoes, dude. You know, so we score first. We get Eddie Johnson gets through and he gets dragged down, and we get a penalty, and we go up 1-0. So we're 10 minutes. We score, I was like 10 to 15 minutes in, and we score. And as I go celebrate, I run by Riquelme, and I grab his arm, and I tell him to tie his fucking shoes, is what I tell him to do. Because I was pissed. I mean, honestly, it's disrespectful not to tie your shoes, dude. You know, like even if you saw a guy do it in men's league, you're like, tie your shoes, you asshole. Tie your shoes, okay? So I go over there and then celebrate, and he doesn't tie his shoes. So fast forward like 10 more minutes. They get a free kick, maybe like 15 minutes, like 30th minute or something. They get a free kick, and before the free kick that he's taking, he ties his shoes. They score on that play, and we go on to lose the game 4-1, and now I totally regret telling Riquelme to tie his shoes, okay?
Oh.
So, yeah, it was pretty crazy. But, I mean, it was cool. I mean, ultimately, they were better than us anyway. We weren't going to win that game by any stretch of the imagination, but we could have held them off potentially, maybe made it a 1-1. And just kind of like, you know, Jose Mourinho'd it and sat on top of the box. But it was cool. I mean, I got to play against Messi and got a good clean tackle against him, and Crespo and Riquelme and Cambiaso and Zanetti's a fucking beast, you know, and just, it's one thing to see these guys on TV, but then when you play against them and to see their quality and to see how they move and how they create space and what they do off the ball, it really is incredible. And these guys are world-class players for a reason.
No, yeah, I don't know what I would do if I was in that position. I can see that. I've never played against anyone who's ever like played without, you know, untied shoes. So that's different. I've never heard of that. But that's wild.
I mean, I played against like player ones who I played against a team who were obviously much better than us. They got a penalty shot and they let their goalkeeper take it. Their goalkeeper hit the post, so then I just go to the goalkeeper's ear and just yell at him.
Good.
That's awesome.
But
Perfect.
Were you much of a trash talker on the field, or not really?
No, I would pick my spots. I mean, if I felt disrespected or if somebody tried to dive, you know, or similar to that, you know, the goalkeeper comes up, he thinks he's hot shit, and then he misses. Like, of course you're going to give him an earful there. But no, I wouldn't go out of my way to be like, I'm going to talk trash to this guy. Unless I knew or I heard that he's a bit of a mental midget, and that if you got into him a little bit, then, you know, I mean, I'm all for gaining an advantage. If it's going to make my life easier for 90 minutes, I'm going to take it. But more often than not, no, I was never trying to belittle somebody. I always wanted to outplay somebody. I wanted to be better than you because I was a better player, not because, you know, I was necessarily trying to get in your head and be a jerk. So,
I guess a question I have about your career then is one moment of your career a lot of people don't really talk about, I guess. During your time at Lech Poznan, how did that go about? I mean, I think I saw online you played only 8 matches over there. And like, how was your time in Poland? And what's like a big difference you saw between European football and North American at the time?
Yeah, honestly, I'll be honest. When I first got asked to go or had the possibility to go to Poland, I was kind of like anybody else, like Poland, you know, really, like what? Germany, England, France, Spain, Italy, you know, one of the top 5 leagues. I can't go loan over there. But there was a Polish player on my team, Wojtek Krakowiak, who was the Herman Award winner at Clemson. So that's like the Heisman Trophy for college soccer. And he had a connection there. And our season ended pretty early. We didn't make the playoffs. So we were pretty bad that year with the San Jose Earthquakes. And so they're like, hey, we'll take on a couple more Americans. So me and Ian Russell, who is now coaching, was coaching the Quakes for a while, and now he's at Fresno in the lower divisions. or no, Reno, excuse me.
Mhm.
But yeah, we went over there and we got to help them fight relegation. We got to play in their FA Cup. We got to do all these
Wow.
things, and it was really cool. I will say though that as an American, they don't have any respect for you as a player, and so you not only do you have to win over your opponent, you definitely have to win over your teammates. And what you learn too, and I'm sure this happens many times over to any player that's leaving their home country to go somewhere else, you have to win over, like, the guys that are already there. You're taking a spot from one of their friends, and you're taking a livelihood away from one of their friends. So that makes it doubly hard, because not only do they just make it hard for you. You get isolated. You feel really lonely. Now, then you have to just stick it out, and you have to continue to push. Now, thankfully, I had a couple teammates for my own team that were there with me. If I was there by myself, I think it would have been a much different experience. Now, you know, the hooligans over there are absolutely nuts. And it's crazy, man. I actually loved it because I grew up in Southern California, never really exposed to that type of intensity or atmosphere before. So to give you a couple stories, if you won at home, everything was free. Like, you go out, drinks were free, food was free. Like, everybody knew in the city how the team did. Like, we were front page news. That was interesting for me, right? I mean, even coming from the earthquakes, where we were like third or fourth or not even talked about in the sports page, to be the only thing that people were talking about was pretty awesome. The problem was, if you lost at home, you get your ass beat if they saw you outside trying to have a good time. So you had to kind of figure that out. So we lost only one game at home during my time, and we were up 1-0, okay, with 10 minutes left. And our goalkeeper gives up two really, really bad goals. Now, looking back, I think he got paid to give up those goals. I honestly believe the fix was in. I mean, he was very good for us, and then all of a sudden he gave up two that weren't. I mean, okay, one, a mistake happens here or there, but I'm talking like Loris Karius in the Champions League final type mistakes. You know, like, there's just no way, you know. And so after the game ends, he runs into the locker room first. We lose 2-1, and the hooligans jump over this barbed wire fence and chase him into the locker room, because all the old guys that were there, like security, were all like old former players that can't move anymore. And these guys, these young hooligan guys, are just massive dudes. And they're like storming, like 15, 20 of them, and they're going to go beat the shit out of this guy. So they go into this. I'm like, where am I? This is crazy. They finally get him cornered in the shower. He still has all of his clothes on. He was hiding in the shower that he could lock the door. They break the door down. He's like kind of curled up in the corner. He's crying, you know, and they start like kicking him and stuff. And it was nuts. I was like, this is insane, but kind of awesome at the same time. That like the game matters this much to people, you know?
Yeah.
I just didn't grow up in that environment. So there was that. Then I saw them fight other fans, and they're shooting bottle rockets at each other. And I saw these big grown guys crying with like their faces are all bloody, and their fans are trying to spit on me. And yeah, it was awesome, dude. I really loved my time there. But I will say that the respect that I didn't get from opponents, like guys would just try to cheap shot me all the time to get me in trouble with the referee, punch me in the face, jab me in the shoulder. I mean, I'll say that from my career, from a development standpoint, I came home a lot tougher. Like, before, I might have been a little soft. I wasn't soft anymore when I came back, because you just don't get treated very well, and that was probably a good thing for me.
Some of that story might explain why Polish football didn't do well in the mid-2000s and 90s. So, yeah.